Most people have a problem with feelings, and they know it. They'll mention things like, yeah, I've got this sadness in me. I've got this shame in me. Or this guilt. Or just something. You might not even know what it is. Just feels like uncomfortable. Just feels bad. Just feels like yuck. Just don't want to feel that. And if I ask them, well, are you open to feeling it? Most actually reply, no, I don't want to feel it. And the feeling isn't even the problem. It's actually just that resistance. It's the resistance to the feeling, that we fight our feelings instead of feel our feelings. Are you open to feeling your feelings? No. Okay, then you're going to continue fighting your feelings. And that's what doesn't feel good. Fighting your feelings doesn't feel good. That's what's exhausting. That's what you're tired of. If I'm waking up every day and I'm fighting my feelings and I'm going to war with myself, that's not going to feel good. That's exhausting. So, at what point are we going to be okay with feeling our feelings? At what point does that no become a yes? At what point do we warm up to our feelings? See, because if we're not wanting to feel our feelings, it's very cold. Someone who doesn't feel their feelings, they're a very cold person. Energetically, they have this coldness to them. Energetically, they have a closure to them. They're closed. They're cold. Energetically, they're defensive. They're guarded. One who's used to feeling their feelings, they're warm. They're open. They're welcoming. More vulnerable. Unguarded. But by just noticing that closure, that coldness, by just noticing the no is very powerful. And with just a little bit of insight, such as these feelings, they're just a part of life. These emotions, it's a part of life. And it's not serving you well. It's doing you no good to say no to these emotions. So at what point do we start warming up? At what point do we start opening up? At what point do we start welcoming? At what point do we stop fighting? Now, to stop fighting is to surrender. So there's a surrendering to these emotions because we're used to fighting them. It's kind of like putting down the sword and the shield, taking off the armor. This is really this vulnerability. It's this shield. It's this armor that we feel so guarded and hard. When we take off that armor, we take off the shield, put the shield down, then there's this softening. It's more of this feminine energy. We're not piercing through these feelings. We're not fighting with it. We're not attacking these feelings. This is very masculine by just taking off the armor, putting down the shield. This is more of the feminine energy. This allows us to feel. This feeling the energy. Is what's needed. And that's what we're afraid of doing. Feeling the energy. That energy in motion. The emotions, we're afraid to feel those emotions. And the feeling is healing. It's feeling those emotions that actually transforms them. You can't transform the emotions without feeling them. That's the real alchemy. That's when you discover the power in the pain, the love in the fear. That by feeling these emotions fully, what you're looking for is actually in the heart of these emotions. At the heart of these emotions is actually what you're looking for. So the sooner we open up to our feelings, the sooner we warm up to our feelings, we feel our feelings fully, well, then we start experiencing what we want to experience. Which in a lot of ways always feels like the polar opposite. Now we might not want to feel this weakness, to be totally vulnerable and feel so exposed and feel so weak. Well, we discover true strength at our weakest point. That this heartache, this pain in the heart, feels like completely just heartbroken. That's where we find the completeness. this pain, that's where we find the healing. We allow ourselves to feel broken. That's when we feel complete. So to resist feeling broken, we actually are resisting feeling complete. By resisting to feel weak, we're resisting our strength. By resisting the pain, we're resisting the healing. By resisting feeling powerless, we're actually resisting feeling our power. So the mind will always split the two and say it's this or that, and not see how it's actually whole. That they're like two sides of the same coin. To resist failure is to resist success. They're just on each side of the coin. There's that weakness on one and there's the strength on the other. So it always feels like everything that you want is on the other side of fear. Because there's a fear, that resistance is experienced as there's a fear to feeling powerless. So there's this feeling of powerless, but then there's that's just too much. I can't handle it. I don't want to. So there's something in the way. And that's the fear. And that's why it takes courage, because courage is really stepping through that fear. It's feeling it anyways. You feel that fear. You're not getting around the fear. There's no bypassing the fear. You're not going to jump over the fear. You feel that fear. You know that there's this fear of feeling whatever that feeling is. A lot of times you don't even know what that feeling is. It's not like you're going to identify, oh, that's just feeling weak. You just kind of know, like, I just don't want to. Right? The I don't want to is the fear. That resistance is fear. So the resistance to the feeling is really the fear of the feeling. So by feeling that fear, feeling that feeling fully, everything that you want is actually what appears to be on the other side of that fear. Then you feel this true strength. Then you feel that completeness, the wholeness. Then there's healing that's on the other side of that pain. But there's a fear. I don't want to feel this pain. I'm afraid to feel the pain. It's going to be too much, overwhelming. That's just a thought, though. That's just a fearful thought. That thought is just more fear. It's just more resistance. So the fear is that resistance, which is why that fear is really the fighting our feelings. To fight our feelings is to be afraid of our feelings, because the fear is the fighting. Whereas when you stop fighting, there's a surrender. There's just the surrendering to that emotion. And there's a feeling that emotion fully. And it's like as if you felt that emotion fully on the one side of the coin, and now you're experiencing the other side of the coin. That all of this fighting is really fighting what you actually want. The completeness that you're longing for, the healing that you're longing for. Whatever it is, it's as if you're denying yourself what appears to be the opposite. But they're not even opposite. It's more like they're complementary. It's as if they're one and the same. That even in the heart of suffering, in the very center of suffering, is happiness. So maybe with this insight, maybe with some testing it out for yourself, warming up to some of these feelings, maybe you see experientially for yourself. It's just not some belief. It's just not some tip that you favorite, come back to later. It's apply it right now. See for yourself if it's true. See if you can see what I'm pointing out. Hope this helps. See you in the next one.